So how are you, Jean? Have you got everybody hooked back up in your area for?
I think we have one subdivision up 14, Highway 14, that is not back on yet. I think we're planning on having them back on Monday or early next week.
Okay.
But for the most part, I think everybody else is.
Well, I saw Louisiana and Mississippi got hit again, and those
Mhm.
guys are all without power. This year, there's always something, I tell you.
Yeah, we sent a crew down to the Amarillo area earlier this week because they had some crazy ice storms down there.
Well, and I've got some friends in Clayton, New Mexico, and I saw where they had a blizzard warning. So that storm must have
Mm-hmm.
really moved down into that area. And ice storms are worse than anything.
Yeah, for us they are, that's for sure.
When I was in Mississippi, we had one of them one time, and I was like, no, I don't like this. I'll take the snow storm day.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I have a friend in Oklahoma. She's about an hour northeast of Tulsa, and they had a terrible ice storm as well last couple of days. So I think it's warming up down there, like for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, Melanie.
Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jean.
I'll give it just a couple more minutes. I think there was a couple more that we're going to sign on.
Kathy, Wes kind of put his duties to me, so don't be expecting Mr. Parham this morning.
Okay.
I was voluntold. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's generally the way it happens. It wasn't even your idea to do a plain talk, and look what happened.
All good, all good.
That's pretty cool. It's telling me, my phone's telling me to call into plain talk. I'm already on. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. And as others come on, I'll let them into the feed. And as you know, we're recording this so that we can put it up on our YouTube channel and move forward so that people can come back and listen to it later. we do get quite a few hits of people going on to YouTube and looking at the videos, which is nice because it doesn't always work out for everybody at 10 o'clock on a Friday. So today we have Xcel Energy with us, and we have one of our newest board members, Lucas McConnell. Luke lives in the Weld County area and is with Xcel Energy. And I think one of the first things, and those of us on the call may already know, but tell us a little bit about Xcel Energy. I believe it's based in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, but give us a little background on Xcel Energy, and then we'll go into some of the things that you guys are working on.
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting because many people, local Coloradans, will tell you, we'll say PSCO or public service, and that's very much how we refer to ourselves here within Colorado. So we are a part of Xcel Energy, which, as you said, is based in Minneapolis, but we have several different operating companies that are divided by state. So here in Colorado, we are still known as PSCO, kind of internally. People will say Xcel, PSCO, sort of interchangeably. So yeah, but we are under the Xcel umbrella out of Minnesota. We are a electric and gas utility, and I believe Xcel is in 8 different states. We are very homogenous in our Colorado employees do work in Colorado, and then the employees of other states do work in those states. It's only when you get to the very high levels of management that they sort of kind of interchange between our different states that we serve. Both electric and gas in. So sometimes, for instance, I'll hear news from the weather in Minnesota or something like that, or my laptop always wants to tell me that I'm in somewhere in the Minneapolis area, and so I always have to, when I'm looking for something, have to correct that. And you know, sometimes I hear about storms in New Mexico and West Texas. So, but we are very Colorado centric. I just got our new numbers today. We serve around 83,000 electric customers in Weld County alone. So yeah, we have a ton of customers here, the largest utility in the state, and we love what we do. So thank you very much for having me. I think you're on mute, Kathy.
Tell us a little bit about some of the areas that you're moving into. I know Xcel was kind of one of the front runners of getting into renewables, and I know that you have some wind projects around the state. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's actually a good segue, because I used to work for a renewable IPP, and so I did some development work for wind and solar and a little bit of combined cycle natural gas. And so I really became familiar with Xcel due to their Rush Creek wind farm, which is way out on the east side of the state, very wind prone area, really solid new wind farm that we put out there. But we're looking at projects like this, a lot of wind, a lot of solar going forward. And so that is our most recent development. It's in the Kit Carson County area. I don't cover it currently, but I have been out there previously. So we're working to develop more projects like that. And so we're constantly looking for opportunities. As you said, we consider ourselves a very forward-looking utility. And we are one of the most green, I guess you could say, utilities in the country. And so it's something that we're very proud of. We've said we're trying to get towards 100% carbon-free energy by 2050, so just a little ways down the road. And we have, admittedly, a long way to go, but we do feel like we can get there. We have great resources in Colorado, because I know this because I've done work in a lot of other states, and I'm from Michigan originally, and I would just say that we're very blessed to be in Colorado with having the plains, having mountains, having, you know, borderline desert ecosystem out here as well, 300 plus days of sunshine. So we're very fortunate to live here, all of us, and I think that we're making the best of that as much as we can.
Originally, I believe, what was it, the 2035 plan or 2030 plan? I know I worked on it probably 15 years ago, so I shouldn't have even gone there if I don't remember what it was. But I know Xcel, whatever the plan was, Xcel was one of the first utility companies to sign on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It was very aggressive of us compared to other utilities, other people in this industry, but we're proud of it. I think that my personal opinion is that as time goes on, you'll see that what was once aggressive is going to be kind of in line with what I feel like other utilities will aim for as well. We're just one of the first people to kind of get out there and say it.
Well, and I know our local co-ops around our part of the state are becoming very active in renewables and greener energy as they move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about utility systems as a whole. They kind of have territories that they work, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's true. So we're a publicly regulated monopoly, and so boy, we could probably sit here all day and talk about regulation in this industry. I'll try to be brief, but we do have service territories that are carved out kind of by the state. I represent the northern Colorado area, so I have Larimer, Weld, Morgan, Logan counties. So we do a lot of work with Poudre Valley and United Power and folks like that. That's who we border a lot. I would say that they're not those borders that we're kind of given for our service territory aren't set in stone. We'll do some territory swaps here and there if we can better serve, or Poudre Valley could better serve certain entities. We negotiate a little bit, but at the end of the day, yes, we do have a service territory that looks a bit like Swiss cheese. It's not completely contiguous. That's definitely true. But then within those territories, we at least at a minimum have a right of first refusal. So, we make sure that we can serve them and we should be able to, but we can serve electric and gas to the customers that are either existing or want to move into that service area. So for example, we might have a CNI, a large, customer coming in and they want to build, a facility of some sort, and they need, X number of basically electrons, and we say, well, do we have the resources to serve this? And so we'll do sort of a study to see if we can, if we're able to serve them with electric and or gas. And so assuming that we are, then we have that right to do that depending on where they, locate their physical facility. Now, sometimes they'll say, we're looking at these 3 sites, and we'll say, hey, we only serve one of those sites, so we can give you the information on one of them, but here's who you're going to want to contact at, United Power, or Poudre Valley, or whoever, for service there. So I would say that back to your previous comments on renewable sources, I would say in the last 5 years, starting to get those, I'm searching for the word, maybe more socially conscious customer coming in and saying that, we want electricity, of course, but we'd really like somebody who has a lot of renewables and a lot of less carbon on their system to serve us. And so there is now, I would say, an appetite we don't just want to switch on a light switch. We actually want that to come from wind or solar or whatnot. And so I think that that's a change in the business that we've seen recently, is these folks aren't just satisfied with being served with electric and or gas to a lesser extent, but they do want that sort of renewable mode coming.
Do you think the makeup of the citizens of our regions is changing, or is it that we're evolving in our way of thinking, and especially as new generations come up in our area?
Yes, I mean, I've had the pleasure of working in many parts of the country, and I would say that in my experience, that opinions on how we generate electricity specifically, what those sources be, are changing for sure over time. And I've always considered Weld County to be an all of the above energy county. And whenever I speak to public officials, which is a key part of my job, most of them will agree with that. They like the stability. Well, I mean, I guess it's difficult to talk about stability in oil and gas right now, but that's been a major employer for them for going on 100 years in Weld County. And so for most folks that I talk to, even public officials, they want to talk about the jobs that come with that. Now, I think that there certainly is more appetite recently for different, focusing on different sorts of energy areas, particularly with respect to the jobs that come with those. And so I would say that there's a bit more nuance when thinking about energy related sectors, specifically in my area. I've not heard anybody speak too ill of wind or solar recently. I think that they would like not only that income, but they would also like the jobs that do come along with it. So I would say that there's the people up here are pretty smart. They're pretty keen folks when it comes to this type of thing. So they do understand the benefits, and I think that they're a very valuable partner for everything that we do up here.
Well, and I know when I first started with Pro 15, talking about wind energy or solar energy was just not something that anybody wanted to talk about. And we have come to be an all of the above, because every piece of the energy sector benefits our economy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see, you were talking about wanting to be totally green, carbon neutral. How is that going to be accomplished? Because don't you still need the oil and gas for batteries or whatever it might be, storage, to bring that about?
Well, Kathy, you're getting right to the most difficult talking point, and that is we don't 100% know by 2050 how we're going to get there. We have seen the energy industry come along rapidly in the last 10 or 20 years, specifically the last few years. And we do expect that progress and that increase in technology to continue. And so we are, in a way, betting on that. We fully recognize that it's now 2020, so we have 30 years to get to 2050. And in those 30 years, we fully will admit that we don't know what is necessarily coming in terms of technology. For example, we think that battery technology needs to improve, and we think that it probably will fairly rapidly in the next 10, 20 years. But we are certainly depending on technologies that we might not currently have in play to get to that completely carbon neutral number in what is, not a long amount of time, in my opinion, 2050. So we don't have those. We can't snap our fingers and deploy those resources to get to that number right now, but we certainly see ourselves being able to over that course of time before 2050.
I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about a couple of, or one in our backyard, which is Pawnee Power Plant. And do we have another coal-powered plant in our Pro 15 region?
Not an Xcel one. Pawnee is the only one that I oversee. We have one, we have the ones in Comanche down by Colorado, or Pueblo area, excuse me. And then we have one up in Craig as well. My colleagues oversee those in their respective territories. Pawnee is what I focus on. So, but yes, we do have Pawnee.
Okay, and so what do you see as the future of Pawnee? In my county, it's a huge generator of property tax and jobs and involvement in the community. So.
Yes, ma'am. It's a key pillar of that community, and I've had the numbers come across my desk to see what they do in terms of tax generation and jobs and whatnot. So you're absolutely correct. Pawnee is a coal power plant out in Brush. For those that don't know, we don't have anything set in stone right now for shutting it down. We recognize that it won't be around forever. Part of our getting towards less carbon in our fleet will be either shutting down or converting plants like that, but we do not have a firm date. We've talked about, I can tell you right now, we've talked about it internally, and with the great natural gas resources we have obviously in Weld County, there's been a little bit of talk of can we convert that and keep some of those jobs. one of the popular thing is to do is to take coal plants, or sometimes even nuclear. Fort St. Vrain is an example of a nuclear plant that's now a natural gas plant, and converting those to other generation types. So the answer is we don't know, but we do not have a plan right now to take that off. There's no date that we have on a future calendar out there. So we're just talking right now about our transition internally, but no plan set in stone right now, Kathy.
Okay. Melanie or Jean, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in. We didn't have a real set agenda, so I told Lucas he just had to wing it as we went through the day. What do you see down the road? Let's see if I can frame this. Do you see more and more homes putting up their own wind tower or solar panels that they that you actually owe them money?
Right. Yeah. So I think that when you ask that question, it would probably lend itself a little bit better to solar. So there's quite an appetite recently. And it's kind of funny. I was talking to a friend about this recently. Politically speaking, solar, specifically solar you might have on your own personal property or your own house, is a very bipartisan issue. Everybody really is liking that currently. And so it's one of those rare issues that kind of comes down the middle there. But yeah, it's something that we are supportive of. We don't get down as a utility company to really going out and helping people put it on their roofs, because it's just, we don't really have the resources to really get down in that type of level. People will call me once in a while and say, hey, I have this, acre or two that I'd like to put some solar panels on. And I'm always happy to connect them with the right people. There's many solar companies out there that will help folks get that on their property. And it does allow them to offset some of their utility bills. What we as a company, in terms of solar at a smaller scale, community solar, like solar gardens, CSGs, that is something that we help out on. We're interested in the offtake off of that to be able to serve, add that to our portfolio. It certainly helps local areas. When speaking about Weld County, a highly oil and gas rich county, we're doing a lot of siting up here with respect to solar gardens and stuff like that. So there is that appetite here. We see that continuing to grow without a doubt. I would highly doubt you'd see us as a utility discouraging folks from putting it on their homes. Like I said, we don't really quite get down to that level. We take it on a more community scale, if you will, but we definitely see that to continue. With respect to personal wind, I'm not very well versed on that. I obviously it exists and whatnot, small wind turbines in on people's property, and it's probably somewhat lucrative in Logan and Morgan County areas where you get a lot of high wind out there. I can't really speak too intelligently about that. We stay on sort of the utility scale level of wind as well. So, but I think that I think it's great, to be honest with you. I think that it's an independent way of not relying on other folks to serve you. And I think that it's great. Yeah.
I know there was some wind turbine movement, but it was also noisy, and to have a wind turbine in your backyard if you were in town and had lots of neighbors, where solar does not have that issue.
Yeah, I mean, I can say that we cite a lot of wind, having worked for a company who did this in some very rural areas. So I might, I'm not going to push you in that direction, but if you're going to ask about future technologies, transmission might be something that we talk about, because that is probably going to be a real big issue, particularly out where we are, where it starts to get a bit more rural. We're not all put together like on the East Coast and whatnot, where we have a lot of great wind resources. We physically need to get that electricity to city centers and in areas where more people will use it. So that is an issue that I'm really starting to dive into that personally to get a handle on what we're doing for transmission, as well as the company. Wes Parham, our government relations director, and I were talking about it just yesterday. We definitely see that as a big opportunity. And the funny thing with transmission is it is really going to help out everybody here. A transmission line, we would see if Poudre Valley had resources or other companies being on these transmission lines, hopefully together to benefit everybody, to be honest with you. But I think that that's an area the industry is going to look into in the near future.
Well, and I just saw this morning in a news release or something, a REA on the Western Slope got granted some money to help with broadband.
Mm-hmm.
And I know 25 years ago when I was with the local chamber, we were always talking to our local REA and saying, why don't you put that in? And at that time it was still very much the purest. We provide electricity and that's all we want to do. But I'm noticing some things in that the lines are already there. We need to continue putting lines in to get electricity and everything to the home. Do you see Xcel ever getting into that area?
Yeah, so it's a good subject to bring up. So I've been in this role for going on 4 years right now, and I can honestly say what we call co-location. So being able to put that fiber or other types of utilities in our trenches and our rights of way that we use for electric and gas service kind of has gone from we don't really want to do that, we're not comfortable with that, to yes, we do have those established agreements now. I can say, I'm told by my boss all the time when we talk about this, we are not an internet company, we're not a telecom company, and we don't have any desire to be. I don't foresee us getting into that industry, but we understand that we need to work and play well with other utility companies. And so the company has established a policy where we will, like I said, co-locate other utilities. Fiber is a big hot topic now. Putting them in our trenches, and when we're digging, we give them a call, or we give the town a call and say, hey, we're going to be in this area, dig in here. So if you need somebody to put in there with us, there's certain processes that we can go about to co-locate with them. So we do understand the appetite for that. It's sort of our policy right now is go ahead and put in with us and, be in the same trench and whatnot, but don't expect us to come out and fix your internet or your cable TV or something like that. Well, it's not something that we want responsibility for, but, we understand.
But it's nice because it hasn't always been the story. Everybody was pretty much in their own silo, but the more places that can be a conduit to get us the fiber, and we've already got the conduits out to the most remote places in our rural areas, so that that co-location, that conduit could be a big thing in moving us ahead in all areas of infrastructure and communication and power out in our region.
Yeah, we've recently had, like I said, we've also had pole attachment agreements where we have above ground distribution and stuff like that. And what we tell the Verizons and AT&Ts of the world that want to connect to our poles is, like I said, just a few years ago, it was no, go away, basically. But nowadays it's, yes, you can put on our poles. And what they do is they basically lease that space from us, and they pay like a yearly fee. And I forget what it is, like 150 or 200 bucks. It's not a ton of money or whatever, but they can put those facilities on our distribution poles. We don't care for them in terms of we don't go out and maintain them or anything like that, because we don't have that expertise. But we do understand, like you're saying, that it's just an opportunity for better infrastructure for more rural areas. And so we do have pole attachment agreements with the telecom companies.
Melanie, did you have a question?
I do. So Lucas, what I just heard you, well, a few minutes ago talking about was you have about 30 years to come to different solutions. And though you're dedicated to being a utility, it seems to me that the utility itself may have to start to look at maybe diversifying the way they look at how they're going to start approaching um, their use of the word utility to be looking at sustainable approaches to what a utility is. So maybe that has to do with becoming more green, as everybody has kind of been pushing down our throats for several years now. So it seems to me that even diversifying how you look at what you do as well, maybe taking a different path down what a utility is, maybe looking at different cells, even for automobiles or for different approaches that way. Have there been internal discussions about how you would diversify?
You know, I hope in that next 30 years you're talking about, I'm at the level where I can make those types of decisions, you know, for my own personal, you know, career. But so I'll speak from my, you know, middle management type level. But I think you're absolutely correct. I think that utilities, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion amongst utility workers, but I think utilities as an industry are sort of at that sort of almost a fork in the road in a way. Is we need to start, just because it's been done this way for 120 odd years is not the way that we are going to go about our work in the future. And I take from what I heard you ask, what resonates the most with me is how we're looking at electric vehicles, for example. And so that would be an example of where we have had those conversations internally about how deep do we want to go in electric vehicles, in how we not only aid the charging of those, do we want to physically own chargers and you know, create a revenue stream out of electric vehicles? Or do we want to work with local towns or other smaller companies for them to be the, for lack of a better term, gas station, I guess, for electric vehicles? We do see electric vehicles as being a big industry going forward. And so I think that is an instance where you will see us as a utility company embrace it. Whereas I was just saying 5 minutes ago, where we're not a telecom company, we don't have a desire for that. That's absolutely true. But I think that you could probably call me out and say, but what do you feel about electric vehicles? And they'd say, well, yeah, we probably feel a little bit differently about EVs because we do see them as a large market segment. I can say that Weld County, as particular as the way that they see a lot of different issues, there's been a lot of movement on electric vehicles, and they very much want to be ahead of that. I've had towns like Kersey, for example, ask me about, can you help us out on trying to get some of the infrastructure for this electric vehicle and the charging that goes along with it? So I do feel like as a utility company that it's not only a great opportunity, but I feel like at levels that are far above me, they're probably having a conversation about how deep do we want to get into electric vehicles. So to your point, I totally agree. I think that there will be a change in that type of area.
Okay, well, we're right up on our 30-minute time window. Jean or Melanie, any last questions for Lucas? You're not unmuting. So Lucas, any wrap-up thoughts you have that you want to share with us?
No, I just want to thank Kathy, you and Pro 15 for all that you do. Specifically, Northern Colorado, Eastern Colorado, the Weld, Morgan, Logan counties are areas that we see swinging above their weight class is what I would say, is because they do so much energy up there, whether it be oil and gas, the wind resources they have out there, the 300 plus days of sunshine. It's truly energy rich up there. I tell a story, and this is absolutely true. I worked in oil and gas, kind of on the lobby side in the state of Michigan, where I'm from. And I knew Weld County and what it was prior to ever stepping foot out here. So I'm it's a very important area up here. And we see the ability for many people in the Metro Denver area switching on their lights at night, that resource coming from this particular area of the state. So it's definitely an area we pay keen attention to, and it's we hope to have a footprint up here for many years to come. So thank you for all that you do up here, and with any of your members, Pro 15, anybody, please feel free to share my contact information if anybody wants to get a hold of me for any reason. I'm happy to help.
All right. Well, thank you, Lucas and Xcel Energy, for another great plane talk. And it should probably be up on our YouTube channel in about 15 minutes. So everybody have a happy Halloween. I've got my pumpkins over my shoulder here. We all wore our great costumes today. So we are set. And you guys have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too. Have a good Halloween, everybody.
Thank you. Be safe.